I was just adding the last name to my guest list when my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Your sister's wedding is the family priority. We can't make it to yours. No exclamation marks. No pause. Just final. It hit harder than I expected, like someone quietly locking a door from the other side. I didn't argue. I just stared at the blinking cursor, typed, "That's fine," and closed the laptop. A week later, while they were all dressing up for Chloe's big day, the world discovered something no one had bothered to ask. My ceremony was already happening beneath the olive trees of my own $6 million villa in Tuscany. And when the photos emerged, the silence from home said everything. Before I dive into how it all unfolded, hit like and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Because sometimes the people who are supposed to show up for us don't. When people ask what it was like growing up in our house, I never know where to begin. From the outside, we looked like a picture-perfect Christmas card. Matching sweaters, wide smiles, pretending we were close. But look a little closer and a pattern emerges. Every story, every celebration, somehow revolved around my younger sister, Chloe. She was the sun, and I was just the quiet orbit, keeping the system balanced. I used to think it was normal. Mom's eyes lighting up whenever Chloe entered a room. Dad bragging about her dance trophies at dinner. When I brought home science fair ribbons or straight A's, they'd nod politely and move on. Mom would say, "You're lucky, Esther. Things just come easier for your sister." That word, lucky, always stung. Every hour I spent working felt invisible. Somewhere in my parents' living room is a photo album that tells the story better than I ever could. Page after page of Chloe twirling in pink tutus, Chloe blowing out candles, Chloe at prom. Me. Once, maybe twice, cropped at the edge or half turned away. When I was 16, I found a photo where I remembered standing right beside her, yet in print, my face had been literally trimmed out of the frame. Mom claimed it was for composition. I didn't cry. I just stopped expecting to be in the picture at all. Grandma Helen was the only one who noticed. During family dinners, she'd lean close and whisper, "Don't worry, sweetheart. Some people only see what's shiny." She had a way of making you feel seen without needing to explain yourself. And my cousin Rachel, she was always there on birthdays my parents forgot. Favoritism doesn't erupt overnight. It seeps in until silence feels safer than confrontation. By adulthood, it became its own language. Chloe forgot my college graduation. Mom called it a misunderstanding. She borrowed money and never returned it. Dad said she was still finding her way. So when the wedding text arrived, I wasn't shocked. It just confirmed what I'd always known. I'd spent my life bending, adjusting, accommodating everyone else's comfort. But that night, as I stared at Mom's message, something shifted. For once, I didn't bend. I looked around my apartment, the soft hum of the fridge, the cedar candles I'd lit to calm myself. My wedding invitations were still stacked neatly on the counter, handwritten and sealed in gold wax. I'd imagined them on my parents' fridge. Now I imagined them unopened, forgotten, discarded for Chloe's glossy event. And yet, beneath the ache, a quiet calm settled over me. This was my chance to stop begging for a seat at their table. 2 days later, Chloe called as if nothing had happened. Her voice was sweet, sugary, the voice she uses when she wants something. "Can you believe it?" she said. "The venue we wanted opened up last minute. It's the same weekend as yours, but that's fine, right? You're on the West Coast. We're in Boston. Destiny. Destiny." She actually said destiny, like she'd lifted it from a Hallmark card. I couldn't speak for a few seconds. I just listened to the clinking of her bracelets and realized she was waiting for me to congratulate her. "That's great, Chloe," I said evenly. "Perfect timing." She giggled. "I knew you'd understand. You've always been so reasonable." Reasonable. That was my assigned role. Steady, mature, predictable. The one they could rely on while indulging her every whim. The next evening, Mom called. Her voice had that careful tone she used when disappointing me, but avoiding guilt. "Sweetheart," she began, "Chloe's fiancé's family can only do that weekend. She's very emotional, and it would mean so much if you could be flexible." Flexible. Another word that had defined me for years. "So, you want me to move my wedding?" I asked quietly. Mom hesitated. We just think it would be easier for everyone. You're so independent, Esther. You'll understand. Easier for them. Not once did she ask what it would cost me. Mom, I said slowly, you promised you'd be there. She sighed, weary, as if I were unreasonable. It's just logistics. That word hit me harder than I expected. Logistics, precision, fairness, integrity, my entire career. In my family's dictionary, it was just another excuse for betrayal. That night, I called Dad. Calm, practical as always. Izzy, you know how your sister gets. If we don't go, she'll take it personally. You've always been the strong one. I bit my cheek until it bled. So I'm supposed to understand again? No answer. I hung up before saying something I couldn't take back. I sat in the dark. Only the fridge hum and the clock ticking past midnight. My engagement ring caught the light, scattering tiny reflections across the wall. Fragments of something I'd tried to hold together too long. Then it clicked. My family wasn't cruel in loud ways. Their weapon was omission, leaving me out of pictures, conversations, priority lists. I'd been trained to interpret silence as love. Not this time. I closed my laptop, opened my travel bookmarks, and clicked a listing I'd saved months ago. A stone villa in Tuscany, surrounded by olive groves. The photos glowed like a dream, gold light on terracotta walls. If they wouldn't show up for me, I'd create something they couldn't ignore. The next morning, I booked a flight. No announcement, no group chat, no dramatic goodbye, just a single, silent decision. When the plane descended over Tuscany, the light was different, softer, almost forgiving. I rented a small car and drove through winding roads lined with cypress trees until I reached the villa. Older than I'd imagined. Honey-colored stone walls, wooden shutters cracked with age, olive trees stretching endlessly. Senor Rossi, the caretaker, handed me a ring of keys. This place waits for someone who sees it, he said. For the first time in months, I felt seen. Inside, the villa smelled of earth and dust, like it remembered every voice that had echoed through it. As I wandered, I realized this wasn't just a house. It was a blank canvas, a chance to rebuild my story without anyone cutting me out. Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into restoration. Local craftsmen treated every beam and brick as sacred. The hammering and laughter mixed with the hum of cicadas. Every evening, I sketched the courtyard for the wedding. A long stone table beneath vines, lanterns overhead, no family table, no hierarchy. Just a place for everyone who chose to be there. The locals called me La Sora Sencio, the quiet lady. I liked that. My silence was no longer weakness, it was strategy. When I told my fiancé my plan, he didn't question it. If this is what peace looks like for you, I'm in. For the first time, I believed someone meant it. A week later, I sent new invitations. Not gold-embossed ones, but simple cream envelopes with pressed olive leaves. Handwritten, personal, sincere. First to Rachel, my cousin who never forgot my birthday. Then Grandma Helen, who always saw through the illusions. Replies poured in. Rachel called first. We heard what happened. Aunt Judy told everyone Chloe's wedding was the main event. We're done pretending. Send the details. We'll be there. Her voice cracked, not from pity, but loyalty. By week's end, flights were booked. Grandma, I've missed enough Real love in my life. I'll be in Tuscany, my dear. The group chat called itself the real family table. Passport photos, luggage, laughing emojis, my phone filled with life. For the first time, I didn't feel abandoned. I felt chosen. Somewhere between olive trees and fresh plaster, I realized this wasn't revenge. This was revelation. The morning of both weddings arrived under the same sun. In Boston, the air was heavy. The ballroom glittered, yet tension hovered. Half the chairs at the front sat empty. Mom, in lavender, smiled too wide, pretending not to notice. Dad checked his watch, then phone, then door. No one was coming. Chloe adjusted her veil for the 5th time. Bridesmaids whispered, "Where's Grandma? Didn't she always sit front row?" Her smile faltered. "She must be late," she said, voice cracking. The photographer repositioned guests to fill gaps. Meanwhile, in Tuscany, sunlight spilled over rolling hills. The villa glowed like a painting, lantern swaying, the long table set under grapevines with candles, wildflowers, and handmade clay plates. Rachel's kids ran between the trees. Eli strummed his guitar softly. Grandma Helen held a small olive branch, a symbol of peace, she said. I stood at the doorway. My gown, silk, simple, soft, catching the light. Lucia, the local chef and friend, pinned olive leaves in my hair. For good fortune and truth, she whispered. When I stepped outside, the breeze lifted my veil. Guests' faces glowed in golden light. Grandma rose first. There she is, she said, and for the first time I believed her. No orchestra, no choreography, just Eli's guitar, the rustle of vines, and people who chose to be there. As I walked down the aisle, I thought of every empty chair, birthdays, graduations, unattended silences once mistaken for peace. Here, every seat was filled, every gaze steady. The officiant, a friend of Lucia's, said, Love is not measured by invitations, but by who shows up. The words sank deep. When I spoke, I didn't read from paper. My vows flowed like breath to those who show up, to those who believed in me before I proved I was enough, to those who stayed when it wasn't convenient. Rachel wiped her eyes. Grandma nodded. That's my girl. The ceremony ended. Applause rose, warm, human, alive. The courtyard filled with laughter and the smell of truffle butter and rosemary. Lucia's kitchen doors opened, platters of handmade pasta and roasted vegetables. Lanterns flickered as the sky turned violet. Halfway through dinner, Rachel showed me her phone. They're talking about it already. Photos of candles, the villa, the table glowing under grapevines, Grandma laughing with Eli's arm around her, circulating through family group chats. In Boston, Chloe posed for portraits when a bridesmaid gasped at her phone. Wait, isn't that your family? They're in Italy. What? Chloe frowned. On screen, me and my husband under the Tuscan sky. Lanterns aglow. Family smiling around the table. Grandma holding her olive branch. Rachel's kids throwing petals. Chloe froze. The photographer hesitated. Murmurs spread. Isn't that Aunt Marianne and Uncle Ray? I thought they were here. Mom leaned over Dad's shoulder. What is this? Dad's face strained. It's Esther's wedding. They went to hers. Mom didn't answer. Silence stretched louder than any outburst could. Back in Tuscany, laughter rippled as Lucia poured wine. Eat, drink, and remember why you came, she said. Grandma took my hand. I've waited a long time to see this, Esther. This is what family should look like. The night deepened into gold and violet. Guests danced barefoot on the stone floor. I stepped into the olive grove. The air smelled of wood smoke and lavender. The villa glowed. My phone buzzed with missed calls and messages. I didn't open them. Didn't need to. In Boston, Mom's voice trembled in a voicemail. Esther, how could you do this? Everyone's talking about it. We looked like fools. The next morning, sipping coffee under the olive tree where I'd said my vows, I hit play once more, then deleted it. Humiliation wasn't the punishment. The real consequence, I had moved on without needing their permission. Photos circulated online, shared by cousins, friends. Grandma holding her olive branch became our quiet symbol of reunion. No captions, no explanations, just truth. For years, they cropped me out. This time, I built my own frame and filled it with light. The week after, Tuscany grew quiet. Lanterns down. Laughter faded. The long table now scattered with dried petals and wine stains, a reminder that something real had happened. One morning, as I packed the last decorations, my phone rang. Mom. For a moment, I almost ignored it, but something whispered, Answer. Not for them, for yourself. Her voice shaky. Esther, do you know how embarrassed we were? Everyone at Chloe's wedding is talking about your little event in Italy. You made us look heartless. I watched sunlight crawl across the floor. I didn't make you look anyway, Mom. I just gave people a chance to see the truth. Silence. Then a trembling sigh. You've always been so cold. We were just trying to keep peace. Before I could respond, Grandma's voice came through. Judy, enough. You spent years asking this girl to shrink herself for your comfort. Now she stands tall and you call it cruelty? No, my dear. That's freedom. Mom said nothing. The call ended quietly, like a door closing without a slam. I stepped outside. The olive trees swayed in the breeze. Lucia emerged, wiping her hands. Everything okay? I smiled faintly. Better than okay. Finally, quiet in all the right ways. She looked at the long table. Then eat, Senora. You've earned peace. That evening, I set one last plate at the head of the table, the seat that had always been empty. I tied a small olive green ribbon and whispered, for the girl who once waited to be chosen. The wind moved through the vines like a gentle sigh. For the first time, I didn't feel forgotten. I felt free. Later, as the sun disappeared behind the hills, I poured a glass of wine and remembered Grandma's words. Asterisk love, ISN.